Good morning and welcome to the Destiny PHARMA PLC Annual General Meeting proceedings. Throughout this recorded meeting, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, scroll to the bottom, type your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question submitted today. However, the company will review all questions submitted and will publish responses where appropriate to do so. I'd now like to hand you over to Nick Rogers, Chairman. Good morning.
Shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the Annual General Meeting of Destiny PHARMA. I'm Nick Rogers and I'm the Chairman of the company. It's just after 11 o'clock, so we have a quorum and I declare the meeting open and we proceed to business. Before turning to the formal part of the meeting, I'd just like to mention a few housekeeping points. Please make sure mobile phones are switched off or silenced, and I'd just like to remind everybody that we don't allow photographs to be taken or the meeting to be recorded or transmitted. I'd now like to introduce the board. I've got Sean Claydon, who is the Chief Financial Officer of the company, on my right. James Stearns, who's a Non-Executive Director and Chairman of the Audit Committee, is in the room here, as is Nigel Bruxby, another Non-Executive Director, and Bill Love is on the screen with you virtually. Before we go into the meeting, I would like to make an AGM statement, which will be published after the meeting. So during the past year, Destiny has made some significant progress both with XF73 and NTCT M3, our two late-stage assets. We've generated some good clinical data for both these programs and now running towards the phase 3 trials. As you know, in February, we signed an agreement with Sabella for M3, and that's got a potential value of some $570 million in stage payments, plus royalties. So it's quite a valuable asset for us. In addition, we secured agreement for Sabella that they would pick up all of the costs of the phase 3 trials, and that could be something of the order of $60 or $70 million. So our focus now is on agreeing a partnership for XF73, and we've got various discussions in place, various stages, and we're working on the premise that any deal for XF73 will have a significant upfront payment and will reflect the fact that the product addresses a multi-billion-dollar market. This morning we announced that after an incredibly busy 6 years with Destiny PHARMA, Neil Clark has decided it's the right time for him to move on to a fresh challenge and to step down as Chief Executive. He leaves the business well positioned with a strong balance sheet and a diversified late-stage pipeline. So, consequent on that, Deborah Barker, who has been a non-executive director of the business since 2020, will become interim chief executive until we can find a permanent replacement, and we're active on that search now. As I said, Deborah joined the board in 2020, and so she knows the business very well. She's been involved in a variety of aspects of it, and she has a wealth of experience as a senior executive and board director in life science companies, particularly in the anti-infective sector. And so that's a real asset for us, and she has already demonstrated some of that as a non-executive. She's also held key roles at Novartis and Polyfor, in addition to roles at Roche, GSK, and Polyneuron. So her experience is very wide, and I'm hoping that she'll bring all of that to bear in her interim role as we look to work on the XF73 partnering and also finalising the identification of a full-time chief executive. Neil will continue to support Deborah and the business to ensure an orderly handover, as would be sensible, and the board and the scientific team continue as before. The strategy is unchanged. We're not changing. This is not a major issue for us. So I firmly believe that we have the opportunity to demonstrate the substantial value that Destiny's products represent, and this remains the focus of all the management team. Whilst the macroeconomic environment has continued to remain challenging, there have been recent signs of improvement, and Destiny PHARMA is well positioned to exploit some of those. So I would expect that Deborah and I will make a more detailed update in the coming weeks once Deborah has got her feet under the table. Thank you very much. So, in terms of the formal business of the AGM, we'll return to the formal business of the AGM and voting on the resolutions, and there will be some time for Q&A from those in the room, as well as questions raised by the shareholders online, our investor meet, after the voting. So I'd like to now take the full proceedings of the annual general meeting. The notice of meeting was posted to shareholders on the 26th of April. That therefore means that notice has been given in the requisite timescale. And I propose, therefore, with your consent, that the notice of meeting should be taken as read. Is everybody in agreement? I'll take silence as acceptance. Thank you very much. So in terms of voting, to reflect more accurately the views of shareholders of the company and in accordance with the company's Articles of Association, the voting on the resolutions today will be conducted by way of a poll rather than on a show of hands. This is seen as best corporate governance practice, as it gives all shareholders the opportunity to participate in the decision-making of the company and have their votes recorded. As there are 9 resolutions being put to the vote today, we'll conduct a poll on each of the resolutions after I've put all of the resolutions to the meeting, if that's understood by everybody. So I won't read the full text of the resolutions. They are set out in the annual general meeting notice, a copy of which you've received. But the summary of the resolutions will be on your screen very shortly. I'll read out. So resolutions 1 to 8 are proposed as ordinary resolutions and therefore require a simple majority of shareholders, i.e. 50% plus 1 share. Resolution 9 is proposed as a special resolution and therefore requires 75% of shareholders for it to be passed. So as I say, the poll will be conducted after the resolutions, and I've got details of all of the proxies here. So resolution 1 is to receive the report of accounts. This resolution proposes to receive the annual audited accounts of the company for the year ended 31st December 2022, together with the directors' reports and the auditor's report on those accounts. Resolution 2 is to approve the re-election of Dr. Deborah Barker as a director. Resolution 3 is to approve the election of James Stearns as a director. Resolution 4 is to approve the election of Aled Williams as a director. And resolution 5 is to approve the election of Nigel Brooksby as a director. Those last 3 directors joined the board after the last annual general meeting, so that's why they are being elected here. Resolution 6 is to approve the reappointment of Crowe UK LLP as the company's auditors, and to the end of the next AGM. And resolution 7 is to fix the auditor's remuneration. Resolution 8. This resolution proposes to authorise the directors to allot shares in the company and grant rights to subscribe for or convert any security into shares of the company up to an aggregate nominal value of £314,863.54. That represents approximately 1/3 of the company's issued share capital at the 25th of April. That authority will expire on the 31st of August 2024 or earlier, if earlier, on the conclusion of the next AGM. Resolution 9, the last resolution, this is a special resolution, and this proposes to authorise the directors to allot shares for cash without first offering them to existing shareholders in proportion to their existing holdings. The authority sought sought limits the maximum number of shares that can be allotted on this basis to an aggregate nominal value of 94,459 and 6p, representing approximately 10% of the company's issued share capital on the 25th of April 2023. This authority will also expire on the 31st of August 2024, or at the conclusion of the company's next annual general meeting, if that's earlier. Right. I will now conduct the poll on each of the resolutions just put to the meeting. You've got three options for each resolution. You can vote for the resolution, against the resolution, or abstain. A vote withheld is not a vote in law and therefore will not be counted in the calculation of the proportion of votes for or against. The results of the poll, including the proxy votes already received in respect of each resolution, will be announced through the RIS service and posted on the company's website as soon as practical. I don't believe we've got any shareholders in the room who own shares in their own names and therefore vote. So I do have the results of the resolutions to hand because I've got the proxy votes. So am I okay to read those out? Yeah. So in terms of the proxies already lodged in favour and against the resolutions, including those at my discretion and including those at the discretion of a third party who's also in the room. Those in favour for Resolution 1, 27,790,956, with 1,824,241 against, so 93.8% in favour. Resolution 2, 29,615,197 in favour and none against. Resolution 3, 23,194,033 shares and 6,421,164 against. That's 78.3%. And if you want to know what that resolution was, that was the election of James Stearns as a director. Resolution 4 is 29,615,197 in favour and none against. Resolution 5 is the same number in favour. Resolution 6 is 29,690,344 in favour and none against, and the same for Resolution 7. So the resolutions on the shares, which is Resolution 8 and 9, 8 is an ordinary resolution, that in favour 27,412,432 and against 2,277,408 against, and that's 92.33% in favour. And Resolution 9, which was the special resolution, 27,295,335 in favour and 2,394,505 against, which is 91.93% in favour. So I declare all of the resolutions passed. So that covers all of the resolutions of the meeting. I'm happy to move to any questions that the shareholders have. Whilst anybody's thinking of submitting any questions, or any questions from the room, I'll answer the two that are up on the screen, which have already been submitted. The first one is, why is the management not buying any shares from the open market at the time? The very simple answer to this is I've just bought 50,000 shares this morning, and I know that other directors have also intended to buy shares, whether those been transacted or not. The second question was why a company with excellent potential products hasn't been able to get support from ARICS, who have too much cash and not enough winners to invest. I can't possibly comment on ARICS's strategy, but obviously Deborah is a non-executive director of ARICS, and that's possibly why somebody has put this question up. what I can't speak for Deborah, obviously, but what I can say is that certainly we have spoken to Arix on more than one occasion over the last 5 years, and they have not invested. But that's right. So, more questions. Can you please explain further on Neil leaving? Was he pushed, or has he been headhunted by another company? All I will say on that matter is Neil has left and decided to go, and we've accepted his resignation, and we're pressing on with appointing a new chief executive as soon as possible. Company announced late last year that the partnering discussions for XF73 had started. Can you update how far these discussions have progressed? Are you still confident of signing a licensing deal by the end of this year? Again, what I will say is what I've already said. There are a number of players who are in detailed discussions with the company at various levels. We are working hard to do what we said, which was to do a partnering deal this year. And I've said that we will try and do a partnering deal which has got a sizable upfront. So that's our aim. The trick will be to get a number of players in the room and get some competition into that transaction. Question on preclinical work has been ongoing for a while on XF73 in conjunction with NIAID. When can we expect an update on this work? I'm not sure on that. Sean, do you?
Michael, are you able to answer that question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we had significant support for a major safety study on XF73. The clinical stage of that work, when I say clinical, it's a toxicological study, has completed, and data will feed out in the next coming months. It is going very well, so we're not expecting any issues at all from that study. That will give us actually information that will be very valuable for follow-on products beyond our nasal product in terms of dermal safety for the use of XF73 in additional indications for treating infections associated with the skin and wounds. So we would expect to be able to make announcements in association with US NIAID. That is one of the largest US government organizations investing in this type of research. Also to remind shareholders that they have previously supported and in fact funded one of the earlier XF73 nasal clinical programs. So they are big supporters of this product and are happy to be helping us to look to provide the base foundation information, which will help us with other products associated with XF73.
Thanks, Bill. That's very useful. And there's another question which I think I've answered in regard to the CEO's departure. So, any questions from the Joe?
Good morning, Nick. I sit here today as representative of a group of old shareholders, total holding of 16.3 million shares, and I speak on their behalf. First, I'd like to congratulate Deborah on your appointment, and I wish her well in making sure that the company's people outside restore their confidence in the company. Unfortunately, I cannot agree with the eulogy that you've given for the past CEO, when today's share price is the lowest that it has ever been, and we've seen more than £70 million worth of value disappear in the last 18 months. Once upon a time, Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing, and you keep doing it over and over and expecting a different result, you're mad. That, I think, I will take today and start from there. We have been pushing hard over the last few years, and I know everybody's efforts have been very good and with every good intention. However, the marketplace is obviously not responding to our message and is not reacting to our message. Under those circumstances, I would like to ask you, what, if anything, you're going to do in the next 6 months that is different from what you've been doing before, that will restore confidence in the market, make sure that we do find a big partner in Big Pharma for XF73, and start to see shareholder value go up again. I really do not believe that keeping the ship steady is where we should be. The last person who spoke those words was the captain of the Titanic, and I very much hope that you're not in that position.
Yes, well, I hope that I'm not in that position either, Joe. Thank you for that comment, and I understand the shareholders that you represent, and I appreciate it. You've been long supporters of this business, so I recognise that the value is, has been eroded over the past 18 months, 2 years. Actually, the IPO value is significantly higher than it has been today. Yeah, I think our job now is to get out and promote the business properly and promote the attributes of the assets that we've got. And I will be working with Deborah to do that. So, we start from here. I think that's what we do. In terms of the partnering of XF73, that's the prime activity of the business. Every member of the management team is working on that in various aspects and will continue to do so. That will not change in terms of activity. There will be hopefully greater effort on that, and Deborah will, I'm sure, bring her expertise to bear in that area. So I think those are the things I would give you as an answer to that. So.
Could you clarify one thing for me, which is on XF73, we are focused on finding a partner rather than self-development of that product?
That's the public statements we've made, and that I'm not changing those statements at all. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. We think that's the right way to go around getting that product to market. Yeah. Right. There is one other question, I think. Given you couldn't secure a large upfront payment for M3, why do you now go to secure a large upfront payment for XF73? I think my confidence comes from the fact that XF73 is a different product. It addresses a larger market than M3 does. It's a multi-billion-dollar product, whereas M3 was somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion. And we are targeting a different set of partners for that, in my view. We've got to work hard for it, but we will. Okay. Are there any more questions from the investor meet?
No further questions are through this.
One more question, if I may.
Yes,
Sorry,
of course,
the only
of course.
shareholders here. In terms of what we're doing to engage with Big Pharma, are we taking on professional help from outside parties to ensure that we have the very widest spread of activity and contact? Because obviously we, being a small company, cannot let everybody.
No. We are, and we will also use the expertise around the board table as well. So I think that a number of the members around the board table have some significant expertise in this area, which we need to exploit. So, yeah. In your opinion, do you think that in time XF73 will become the standard of care for every operation I would like to think so. I mean, given this product, we expect to be in the US for an operation of $200 to $400 per patient. I see this as an insurance policy for avoiding MRSA in operations. So yes, I would like to see it as a standard of care, and I'd like to see it used in every operation. I think it is one way of assisting, ensuring that people survive operations and don't get particularly nasty infections. Right, okay, all questions done. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you, Joe, for your questions. And we will get on with the business of the company.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for updating attendees today. Could I please ask attendees not to close the session? You should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the board can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete and I know is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of Destiny Pharma PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's annual general meeting proceedings, and good morning to you all.